First contact under fire. Admiral Sarah Martinez stood at the bridge of the ESS Nautilus, Earth's first diplomatic vessel designed for peaceful first contact. The ship's sleek lines and deliberately non-threatening profile had been carefully crafted to present humanity's best face to the stars. As they approached the designated meeting point with the Celesti, a species known for their advanced gravity manipulation technology, Martinez felt the weight of humanity's future on her shoulders. Contact bearing 047. Admiral, reported Lieutenant Commander James Chin from his sensor station. Celesti vessel approaching as scheduled. The Celesti ship was beautiful, a crystalline structure that seemed to flow through space like liquid starlight. As protocol dictated, both vessels maintained their distance while establishing communications. The first exchange between humanity and the Celesti was going exactly as planned. Until it wasn't. Multiple hostile signatures dropping out of FTL. The tactical officer's voice cut through the ceremonial atmosphere like a knife. Energy signatures match no known configurations. Before either the human or Celesti vessels could react, space itself seemed to tear apart as massive biomechanical ships emerged from hyperspace. Their organic-looking hulls pulsed with an eerie red light, and without warning or declaration, they opened fire. Shields up, Martinez ordered, but she knew their diplomatic vessel wasn't built for combat. The first salvo from the unknown attackers ripped through their defensive screens like they weren't even there. All hands, brace for impact. The Celesti ship fared no better, its crystalline structure cracking under the assault. Their new ally's distress call echoed through the command channel. This is Ambassador Lyra of the Celesti Confederation. We are under attack by the Vorkath. They are a species that consumes technological civilizations. Please, if you can hear us. Martinez watched in horror as the Celesti ship's main drive section began to fail. Without intervention, both vessels would be destroyed in minutes. That's when her years of experience commanding deep-sea rescue operations kicked in. Engineering. Can we extend our structural integrity field around the Celesti vessel? The system isn't designed for. I didn't ask what it was designed for. Can we do it? A pause. Yes, Admiral, but it would require routing power from virtually every other system. Martinez smiled grimly. Just like the Antarctic rescue of 47. Do it. Helm, bring us alongside the Celesti vessel. We're going to show these Vorkath something they've never seen before. The Nautilus, despite its wounds, maneuvered close to the Celesti ship. As the structural integrity field expanded, it created a bubble of reinforced space around both vessels. The Vorkath weapons, while still devastating, now had to contend with the combined resistance of both ships working in concert. Ambassador Lyra, Martinez broadcast, we're going to try something unconventional. Can your gravity manipulation technology create a localized distortion? Yes, but in our damaged state, it would be unstable. Perfect. That's exactly what we need. Martinez laid out her plan quickly. The Celesti would use their gravity technology to create a controlled singularity, while the human vessel would use its structural integrity field to contain and direct the force. It was a technique Martinez had used countless times on Earth, containing pressure differentials to protect damaged submarines or underwater structures. The principles were the same, only the scale had changed. The Vorkath, confident in their superior technology, pressed their attack. They didn't expect their prey to fight back with such unorthodox tactics. As they moved in for the kill, the combined human-Celesti defense turned into an offense. The controlled singularity, wrapped in the modified structural integrity field, acted like a massive depth charge. When detonated, it created a ripple effect through space that the Vorkath's biomechanical ships couldn't compensate for. Their organic components, sensitive to gravitational fluctuations, began to tear themselves apart. It's working, Chen reported, his voice barely containing his excitement. The enemy vessels are breaking formation. Their hull integrity is failing. Martinez watched as the Vorkath fleet, caught off guard by the unprecedented cooperation between their intended victims, began to retreat. The few ships that remained intact jumped to FTL, leaving their damaged companions behind. In the aftermath, as emergency repairs began on both vessels, Ambassador Lyra's voice came through once more. Admiral Martinez, in all our records, no species has ever survived first contact with the Vorkath, let alone driven them back. How did you know this would work? Martinez looked out at the debris field that had once been the Vorkath attack fleet. On Earth, we have a saying. The sea teaches you to respect her power, but also how to work with it. Space isn't so different. Sometimes the best solution isn't to fight the pressure, but to redirect it. The Celesti ambassador was quiet for a moment. We have much to learn from each other, Admiral. And I suspect the Vorkath will return. Let them come, Martinez replied, already forming plans. Next time, we'll be ready. And I know quite a few fishing boat captains who'd love to try their hand at space warfare. As repair crews worked to stabilize both ships, Martinez began composing her report to Earth Command. Humanity's first contact hadn't gone as planned, but they'd gained something perhaps more valuable than a peaceful meeting. They'd gained allies who had seen firsthand what humans could do when backed into a corner. And somewhere out there, the Vorkath were learning a harsh lesson. Not all prey goes quietly into the night. The makeshift armada. 3 months after the first Vorkath encounter, the Southampton fishing docks buzzed with activity that had nothing to do with catching fish. Captain Eleanor Storm I. Chen watched as workers retrofitted her deep-sea trawler, the Stormy Petrel, with military-grade shield generators and modified harpoon launchers capable of deploying space-worthy nets. Never thought I'd see my old girl turned into a warship, she mused, running a weathered hand along the ship's hull. The Stormy Petrel wasn't alone. Hundreds of fishing vessels, cargo ships, and even old oil rigs were being converted across Earth's oceans. With the regular fleet tied up defending core worlds, humanity had to get creative. Admiral Martinez stood beside her, examining holographic blueprints of the modified vessel. Your experience hunting schools of tuna in rough seas might just save humanity, Captain. The Vorkath move in patterns similar to deep-sea predators. Who better to catch them than Earth's fishermen? The Admiral's comm unit chimed. Martin is here. Admiral, the Celesti engineers have finished integrating their gravity tech with the fishing nets, reported Lieutenant Commander Chen. The initial tests are interesting. Define interesting, Martinez replied, already walking toward the testing area. Well, we may have accidentally created a localized space-time eddy, but on the bright side, the nets can now theoretically trap and hold a ship moving at sublight speeds. Eleanor grinned. Just like catching marlins, the harder they fight, the tighter the net gets. The makeshift fleet gathering in Earth's oceans was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Crab boats bristled with point defense turrets. Long-range trawlers carried experimental gravity weapons developed in collaboration with the Celesti. Even weather research vessels had been pressed into service, their sophisticated atmospheric modeling systems repurposed to predict Vorkath attack patterns. In the command center, converted from an old fisheries monitoring station, Martinez reviewed the latest intelligence. The Vorkath were moving methodically through the sector, consuming every technological civilization they encountered. But they hadn't faced humanity yet, not properly. Admiral, Eleanor called out, pointing to a simulation running on the main screen. Look at their attack formation. Reminds me of how tiger sharks herd their prey. Martinez studied the pattern. You're right. They're using the same techniques you use to drive fish into your nets. Then maybe it's time we turned the tables, Eleanor suggested. Every predator can become prey if you understand their habits well enough. The next few weeks saw intense training as fishing crews learned to operate their modified vessels in space. The learning curve was steep, but these were people used to betting their lives against the ocean's fury. Space, they found, wasn't so different, just darker and colder. The breakthrough came during a joint exercise with the Celesti. Eleanor's crew was demonstrating traditional purse seine techniques when someone had an idea, combined the fishing nets with celestial gravity manipulation to create what they called a space seine, a massive energy net that could trap and disable Vorkath vessels. "It's insane," one of the Celesti engineers commented, using fishing techniques against one of the most advanced hostile species in known space. "Sometimes the old ways are the best ways," Eleanor replied, watching her crew deploy test nets with practiced efficiency. "The sea taught us patience, respect, and how to catch things much bigger than ourselves. Why should space be any different?" The fleet grew day by day. Fishing vessels from every ocean joined the cause, their crews bringing generations of knowledge about predator behavior and hunting techniques. The Celesti provided the advanced technology, but it was human experience that would make it work. Martinez stood on the bridge of her new flagship, a converted super trawler named the Terra's Net, watching as hundreds of vessels took formation. Each ship maintained perfect spacing, just as they would when trawling the open ocean. The sight brought a smile to her face. "Status report," she called out. "All vessels report ready, Admiral," came the response. "The Celesti gravity generators are synchronized with our net deployment systems. Weather modeling AI is tracking Vorkath movement patterns with 89% accuracy." Eleanor's voice crackled over the comm. "Stormy Petrel ready to cast the first net, Admiral. These bastards want to hunt. Let's show them what Earth's deadliest fleet can do." As the makeshift armada prepared for its first real combat operation, Martinez couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. The Vorkath expected to find easy prey. Instead, they would face humanity's oldest profession, hunting, adapted for the space age. "All vessels, maintain formation," Martinez ordered. "Remember your training. We're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for every species these monsters have hunted. It's time to show the galaxy why you never underestimate human ingenuity." The fleet moved out, a strange but powerful amalgamation of Earth's maritime heritage and alien technology. They weren't the prettiest ships in space, nor the most advanced, but they carried something the Vorkath couldn't comprehend: thousands of years of human experience in hunting the hunters. Operation Fishing Net. The Vorkath attack fleet emerged from FTL exactly where Eleanor predicted they would. Like sharks drawn to blood in the water, they couldn't resist the apparent vulnerability of a small Celesti mining colony. But this time, the waters weren't as empty as they appeared. "Multiple hostile contacts," announced the Terra's Net's sensor operator, counting 15 Vorkath capital ships, plus support vessels. "They're moving in their standard hunting formation." Admiral Martinez nodded. "Just like you said, Captain Chen. They're herding their prey." Eleanor's voice came through clear on the command channel. "Aye, and about to swim right into our net. All trawler groups maintain radio silence and hold position." The human fleet lay in wait, their ships powered down to minimal levels and hidden within a field of stellar debris. Years of experience hiding from wary fish in Earth's oceans had taught them patience. The modified vessels, despite their military upgrades, still looked like industrial ships to casual scanning. Exactly as planned. The Vorkath fleet moved closer to the mining colony, their biomechanical ships pulsing with predatory anticipation. They'd encountered no resistance in this sector before, and they expected none now. Their first indication that something was wrong came when their forward elements triggered the outer sensor net. "Contact," whispered Lieutenant Commander Chen. "They've crossed the first marker." Martinez keyed her comm. "All vessels, execute Phase 1. Deploy primary nets." Across the debris field, dozens of fishing vessels powered up their modified trawling systems. The Celesti gravity technology, integrated with traditional fishing nets, created a web of gravitational distortions that began to close around the Vorkath fleet. "They're reacting," Eleanor reported. "Just like a school of tuna hitting the first net. Watch them try to break formation." True to her prediction, the Vorkath ships attempted to scatter, only to find their escape routes cut off by more gravitational nets. Their organic technology, so advanced in many ways, proved surprisingly vulnerable to the simple principle of containment. Second layer deployed, came the report from another vessel. They're starting to realize this isn't a natural phenomenon. The Vorkath finally understood they were under attack, but their usual tactics failed them. Attempts to jump to FTL were thwarted by the gravitational distortions. Their weapons, designed to overwhelm conventional shields, dispersed harmlessly in the specialized energy fields generated by the modified fishing vessels. Now they're angry, Eleanor observed, watching the tactical display. Time to show them what happens when you thrash in a fisherman's net. Group 3, begin the surge. A dozen converted deep-sea trawlers activated their main drives simultaneously, creating a powerful gravimetric wave that crashed through space like a tsunami. The Vorkath ships, already trapped in the net, were battered by forces they couldn't comprehend. Multiple hostile vessels showing signs of structural stress, reported the tactical officer. Their organic components are failing under the gravitational shear. Martinez allowed herself a small smile. Deploy the purse scene. This was the masterstroke of their plan. Just as fishing boats used purse scenes to encircle entire schools of fish, the human fleet had developed a massive gravitational containment field. As it activated, the trapped Vorkath ships found themselves compressed into an increasingly smaller space. They're trying to communicate, Chen announced. First time we've ever seen them attempt diplomacy. Funny how being on the other end of the food chain changes one's perspective, Eleanor remarked. Should we answer them? Admiral. Martinez considered for a moment. Open a channel. Let's see what predators have to say when they become prey. The message from the Vorkath was brief and harsh. Release us, or face extinction. Interesting choice of words, Martinez replied. We've studied your species' hunting patterns. You've driven dozens of civilizations to extinction. Did you ever offer them the chance to surrender? The silence was telling. All ships, execute final phase, Martinez ordered. Let's show them how Earth deals with invasive predators. The gravitational nets contracted one final time, crushing the organic components of the Vorkath ships. Those that survived were left powerless, drifting in space like beached whales. The entire operation had taken less than an hour. As recovery vessels moved in to secure the disabled ships, Eleanor's voice crackled over the comm once more. You know, Admiral, my grandfather used to say that the biggest fish in the sea isn't always the most dangerous. It's the one that learns to adapt that survives. Martinez watched as her makeshift fleet of fishing vessels secured humanity's first major victory against the galaxy's most feared predator. Your grandfather was a wise man, Captain. Let's hope the Vorkath learned that lesson, for their sake. The battle was over, but Martinez knew this was just the beginning. Word would spread quickly through the galaxy. Humanity's fishing fleet had succeeded where advanced alien armadas had failed. The hunters had become the hunted, and the stars themselves would never be quite the same. Multiple hostile vessels showing signs of structural stress, reported the tactical officer. Their organic components are failing under the gravitational shear. Martinez allowed herself a small smile. Deploy the purse scene. This was the masterstroke of their plan. Just as fishing boats used purse scenes to encircle entire schools of fish, the human fleet had developed a massive gravitational containment field. As it activated, the trapped Vorkath ships found themselves compressed into an increasingly smaller space. They're trying to communicate, Chen announced. First time we've ever seen them attempt diplomacy. Funny how being on the other end of the food chain changes one's perspective, Eleanor remarked. Should we answer them? Admiral. Martinez considered for a moment. Open a channel. Let's see what predators have to say when they become prey. The message from the Vorkath was brief and harsh. Release us, or face extinction. Interesting choice of words, Martinez replied. We've studied your species' hunting patterns. You've driven dozens of civilizations to extinction. Did you ever offer them the chance to surrender? The silence was telling. All ships, execute final phase, Martinez ordered. "Let's show them how Earth deals with invasive predators." The gravitational nets contracted one final time, crushing the organic components of the Vorkath ships. Those that survived were left powerless, drifting in space like beached whales. The entire operation had taken less than an hour. As recovery vessels moved in to secure the disabled ships, Eleanor's voice crackled over the comm once more. "You know, Admiral, my grandfather used to say that the biggest fish in the sea isn't always the most dangerous. It's the one that learns to adapt that survives." Martinez watched as her makeshift fleet of fishing vessels secured humanity's first major victory against the galaxy's most feared predator. "Your grandfather was a wise man, Captain. Let's hope the Vorkath learn that lesson, for their sake." The battle was over, but Martinez knew this was just the beginning. Word would spread quickly through the galaxy. Humanity's fishing fleet had succeeded where advanced alien armadas had failed. The hunters had become the hunted, and the stars themselves would never be quite the same. "It's not about overwhelming force," Martinez explained to the skeptical conclave. "It's about understanding behavior. Every creature, no matter how advanced, follows patterns. The key is making those patterns work against them." The next month saw the largest cooperative effort in galactic history. Alien technology merged with human experience as thousands of ships, from converted Earth fishing vessels to advanced alien cruisers, took up positions along the predicted Vorkath approach vectors. Eleanor stood on the bridge of the stormy Petrel, now equipped with experimental gravity projectors that could influence space-time like a fisherman manipulating ocean currents. "You know what the crazy part is, Admiral? We're about to use techniques my family developed catching mackerel to save the galaxy." The Vorkath arrived right on schedule, their vast fleet moving through space with predatory grace. But as they approached the human defensive line, something felt wrong. The familiar currents of space-time that guided their biological navigation systems had shifted, creating new patterns they couldn't ignore. "They're taking the bait," Chen reported from his station on the Terra's net. "The whole fleet is turning into the artificial current." Martinez watched as the largest gathering of Vorkath ships in history followed the path they'd created, their biological imperative to follow the most efficient route overriding any tactical concerns. "Just like the herrings," she murmured. "Once you change their environment, they have to adapt or die." The trap was elegant in its simplicity. The modified space lanes led the Vorkath fleet into a region where multiple gravity fields intersected. As they passed the point of no return, Eleanor gave the order that would make history. "All ships, deploy the cosmic scene." Thousands of vessels activated their gravity projectors simultaneously, creating a massive distortion that wrapped around the Vorkath fleet like a fisherman's net. The predators found themselves trapped in a pocket of space-time that pulled them in every direction at once. "Message from the Vorkath flagship," Chen announced. "They're requesting parley." Martinez smiled. Amazing how quickly hunters learn diplomacy when the tide turns against them. "Open a channel. A new course." The Vorkath Supreme Commander's hologram flickered in the conference room of the Terra's net. The once proud predator species had learned a harsh lesson about underestimating their prey. Their entire fleet remained trapped in the human-designed gravity net, unable to escape, but also protected from the destructive forces that threatened to tear them apart. "You could destroy us," the commander stated, its biomechanical form pulsing with subdued colors. "Yet you hold back. Why?" Admiral Martinez glanced at Eleanor before responding. "Because good fishermen understand the importance of sustainability. Wiping out an entire species, even one as aggressive as yours, would damage the galaxy's ecosystem in ways we can't predict." The negotiations that followed would reshape galactic society. The Vorkath, faced with either adaptation or extinction, chose to evolve. Their biological drive to hunt remained, but humanity offered them a new purpose, becoming the galaxy's premier search and rescue force. "Your ships can survive conditions that would destroy conventional vessels," Eleanor explained to a group of Vorkath captains. With some modifications, you could save lives instead of taking them. The thrill of the hunt doesn't always have to end in killing. The transformation wasn't immediate, but it was profound. The same biological adaptability that made the Vorkath fearsome predators allowed them to redirect their instincts. Within months, former hunter ships were being refitted with rescue equipment, their organic technology perfectly suited for operating in extreme conditions. In the Southampton docks, now a bustling center for galactic commerce and cultural exchange, Martinez watched as human fishing crews taught Vorkath teams the finer points of search and rescue operations. The sight of former mortal enemies working together still amazed her. "You know what the real victory was, Admiral?" Eleanor asked, standing beside her, "Not defeating them, but showing them a better way to use their skills." The Galactic Conclave formally recognized humanity's contribution by establishing the Turin Naval Academy, where species from across the galaxy came to learn what they called the human approach to space operations. The curriculum was unlike any other military training in known space, combining practical experience from Earth's oceans with advanced alien technology. The key, Martinez explained to the first class of mixed-species cadets, is understanding that advanced technology doesn't make ancient wisdom obsolete. The patterns that govern the movement of fish in Earth's oceans apply to spacecraft in the galactic core. The techniques that helped us survive storms at sea can help us navigate solar flares. 5 years after the first encounter, Eleanor stood on the observation deck of the newly commissioned GSV Stormy Petroleu, a hybrid design that combined Vorkath organic technology with traditional Earth fishing vessel architecture. Below her, Earth's oceans still teemed with fishing boats, but now they shared the waters with alien vessels learning the ancient ways of human mariners. "We didn't just change how the galaxy approaches warfare," she told a group of visiting dignitaries. "We changed how it thinks about knowledge itself. The simplest solutions are often the best, even among the stars." Martinez, now Fleet Admiral of the Combined Galactic Search and Rescue Command, could only agree. The sight of Earth's fishing fleet had evolved from an object of alien curiosity to a symbol of innovation across the galaxy. Every major spacefaring race now maintained a division of fisher ships, vessels specifically designed to apply Earth's maritime techniques to space operations. As she watched a joint human-Vorkath training exercise, where converted trawlers and organic ships practiced rescue maneuvers in perfect harmony, Martinez reflected on how far they'd come. The galaxy had expected Earth to join the galactic community as students, learning from more advanced civilizations. Instead, humanity had become teachers, showing that true advancement meant understanding the fundamental patterns that connected all things, from the depths of Earth's oceans to the far reaches of space. "The sea teaches us humility," Eleanor often told new recruits, both human and alien. "Space does the same. But both also teach us that with patience, understanding, and respect for ancient wisdom, there's no challenge we can't overcome together." The greatest victory wasn't just surviving the Vorkath threat. It was transforming potential destroyers into protectors and showing the galaxy that sometimes the oldest solutions were the best ones. Earth's fishing fleet had changed the course of galactic history, not through overwhelming force or advanced technology, but through the simple wisdom earned through centuries of working with nature instead of against it. In the end, humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy wasn't their ability to fight. It was their ability to teach, to adapt, and to show that even the deadliest predators could learn new ways to swim among the stars. The end.